Hi, this is your Professor Sudha Parambil. Section 9.2 Hypothesis Test for a Population Mean Sigma Known. So, this section has 6 objectives. Perform the hypothesis test with critical value method and p-value method, and describe the relationship between the hypothesis test and confidence intervals, and describe the relationship between alpha and the probability of error. Report the p-value or the test statistic value. Distinguish between the statistical significance and practical significance. Does coaching improve SAT scores? The College Board reported that the mean math SAT score in a recent year was 515 with standard deviation 116. The result of an earlier study suggests that the coach student should have a mean SAT score of approximately 530. A teacher who runs an online coaching programs thinks that the students coached by this method have a higher mean score than this. We will see how to perform a hypothesis test to determine whether the teacher is right. There are two ways to perform this hypothesis test. One method is critical value method, another one is p-value method. So we will discuss these two methods in this section. If we use the critical value method or p-value method to perform the hypothesis test, both methods will produce the same result. Now assume that the teacher draws a random sample of 100 students who are planning to take the SAT and enrolls them in the online coaching program. After completing the program, their sample mean SAT score is 562. This is higher than 530. So can he reject the null hypothesis and conclude that the mean SAT math score for his student is greater than 530? The sample mean 562 differs somewhat from the null hypothesis value. The key idea behind the hypothesis test is to measure how large this difference is. If the difference between the sample mean and the value in the null hypothesis is large, it is likely to be due to chance, and null hypothesis is likely to be true. Otherwise, a small difference may be due to chance and the null hypothesis may well be true. So we must now determine how strong the disagreement is between the sample mean 562 and the null hypothesis 530. We do this by calculating the value of the test statistics. So let's look at this example. This example is the same situation I have been talking about, and the teacher who runs the online coaching program believes that the mean score of the students is greater than 530. So the null and alternate hypothesis will be, null hypothesis will be mu equal 530 and alternate hypothesis will be mu greater than 530, because the teacher believes that the mean score of the student is greater than. That's why we use the greater than sign for the alternate hypothesis. Now we will find the test statistic. So z equal x bar minus the null hypothesis divided by sigma over square root of n. So here the test statistic, which is just the z score of the sample mean. So we found the z score as 2.76. So mu is here and 530, x bar 562, that is greater than 530, that's why it is on the right side, and z score is 2.76. that means this 562 is 2.76 standard deviation away from the mean. So from the diagram we can see that this value is very far from the null hypothesis value 530. So it appears that the evidence against the null hypothesis is fairly strong. So now let's look at the critical value method first. The critical value method is based on the idea that we should reject the null hypothesis if the value of the test statistic is unusual when we assume that the null hypothesis to be true. We choose a critical value which forms a boundary between the values that are considered unusual and the values that are not. The region that contains the unusual values are called the critical region. If the value of the test statistic is in the critical region, then we reject the null hypothesis. The probability that we use to determine whether an event is unusual is called the significance level. The significance level is denoted by the letter alpha. Therefore, the area of the critical region is equal to alpha. The choice of alpha is determined by how strong we require the evidence against the null hypothesis to be in order to reject it. Smaller the value of alpha, the stronger we require the evidence to be. So if you look at the diagram, this is the null hypothesis mu, and this is the critical value. This is the shaded region, that is the critical region, and this area is alpha. One of the most commonly used values for alpha is 0.05. When alpha equals 0.5 is used in a one-tailed test, the critical value is 1.645. So in this diagram, you can see this area is 0.05. This is a one-tailed test. So 0.05 in percent is 5%. So this entire area on left side of Z will be 95%. 95% in decimal is 0.95. In order to find the critical value correspond to that, we can enter into TI-84 calculator INV norm 0.95 0,1. So in the calculator you will be pressing second VARS, then option 3 for this INV norm. So you will get that if you press enter, you will get that is equal 1.645 if you round it to 3 decimal places. So that is the critical value. We already find the z-score, that is known as the test statistic. So that is 2.76. So z-score, we find that z equal x bar minus mu divided by sigma over square root of n. So 562 minus 530 divided by 116 divided by square root of 100. That is equal 2.76. We are using this formula because the sample size is n equal 100, which is greater than 30, and the sample mean is approximately normally distributed. Then the standard deviation of the x bar will be sigma over square root of n. So we are using this formula to find the test statistic. So this z-score is 2.76. So we will label that on the right side of the z, that is the critical value. So that is only 1.645 and this is 2.76. So that will be on the right side. And that falls in the critical region. So we will reject the null hypothesis at alpha equal 0.05 level. So now we can conclude that the mean SAT math score for students completing the online coaching program is greater than 530. So this is the critical value method. So we use the critical value method to perform the hypothesis test. And this is a one-tail test. The location of the critical region depends on whether the alternate is left tail, right tail or two tail. The critical value of the hypothesis test, you can see that this is a left tail test. The critical value is negative z alpha, which has the area alpha on the left. So we will reject the null hypothesis if z is less than or equal negative z alpha. Remember, z is the test statistic and the formula is x bar minus mu divided by sigma over square root of n. If the alternate hypothesis is right tailed, and we will reject the null hypothesis if z is greater than z alpha. If the alternate hypothesis is two-tailed, then we will reject the null hypothesis if z is less than this value, that is negative z alpha over 2, or if z is greater than z alpha over 2. So easier way to memorize this as if z is in this region, any of the shaded region, or if it is in the critical region, we will reject the null hypothesis. If you don't remember what is z alpha and z alpha over 2 represent, please refer section 8.1. Z alpha is the z score with area of alpha to its right, and z alpha over 2, that is the z score with the area of alpha over 2 to its right. And alpha is a number between 0 and 1, that is the significance level. This table indicates the critical values of commonly used significant level of alpha. So most commonly here we use 0.05, and next commonly used value is 0.01. And if it is left tail, right tail, two tail, all the critical values are given here. The method I just described here that requires certain assumptions. The assumption to perform a hypothesis test about mu when sigma is known are, we have a simple random sample, and the second one is the sample size is large, that is n greater than 30, or the population is approximately normal. When these assumptions are met, we can perform the hypothesis test. Performing the hypothesis test with the critical value method. An American Automobile Association reported that the mean price of the gallon of regular grade gasoline in city of LA in January 2017 was $2.82. A recently taken simple random sample of 50 gas stations in LA had an average price of $2.77. Assume that the standard deviation of price is 15 cents. An economist is interested in determining whether the mean price is less than $2.82. Use the critical value method to perform the hypothesis test at alpha equal 0.05 level significance. First identify the given information, then check for the assumptions. We have a simple random sample size is n is 50, which is greater than 30, and sigma is also given. So the assumptions are met. So the null hypothesis is at this point we assume that the null hypothesis to be true. Next step is find the critical value at the given significance level. Since mu is less than 2.82, this is a left tail test. The corresponding critical value is negative 1.645. Third step, compute the test statistic. So we are going to use this formula. Third step, determine whether to reject the null hypothesis. So first draw a normal curve. So this is 0. So the critical value negative 1.645, that will be on the left side of 0, and z, that is the test statistics, that is also negative 2.36, so that will be on the left side of the critical value. So this is the critical region. So z is less than the critical value, so we reject the null hypothesis at alpha equal 0.05. Now step 5, state a conclusion. We conclude that the mean price of a gallon of regular gasoline in LA is less than 2.82. So this is an example of a hypothesis test with the critical value method. Objective 2, perform the hypothesis test with the p-value method. With the critical value method, the value of the test statistic is considered to be unusual if it is in the critical region, and not unusual if it is not in the critical region. We will now describe the p-value method, which provides more information than the critical value method. Whereas the critical value method tells us only whether the test statistic was unusual or not. The p-value method tells us exactly how unusual that test statistic is. For that reason, p-value method is more used in practice. In particular, almost all forms of technology use p-value method. So in summary, the p-value is the probability, assuming that the null hypothesis is true, of observing a value for the test statistics that has as extreme as or more extreme than the value exactly observed. Smaller the p-value, the stronger the evidence against the null hypothesis. Let's look at this example to see how to find the p-value. An online coaching program is supposed to increase the mean SAT math score to a value greater than 530. The null and alternate hypotheses are given. Now assume that 100 students are randomly chosen to participate in the program and their sample mean score is 562. Suppose that the population standard deviation is known to be sigma equal 116. Does this provide a strong evidence against the null hypothesis mu equal 530? Recall that we begin by assuming that the null hypothesis is true. Therefore, we assume that the mean of the sample mean is 530. Since the sample size is large, we know that the sample mean is approximately normally distributed with the standard deviation sigma over square root of n. So sigma is 116 over square root of 100, that is 11.6. Now find the z-score. Use this formula. The z-score is 2.76. So in the normal curve, mark mu is 530 and the sample mean, that is x bar 562, and mark the z-score correspond to that. Z-score for x bar is 2.76, that is the test statistic. Now we need to find the p-value. P-value is the area under the normal curve to the right side of 2.76, so this area. So in order to find this area, we can use TI-84 calculator. In the TI-84 calculator, press second VARS option 2, that is INV norm, then enter 562. So starting from 562 to be like a very large number on to the right? So that is, and scientific notation 1E99, then mu and sigma. If you want, you can find the area to the right side of 2.76 using the table. You will get the same answer. P-value or this area is 0.0029. So p-value is the area under the normal curve to the right side of the test statistic. Since the p-value is really small, it strongly suggests that the null hypothesis should be rejected. So again, remember that p-value is the area under the normal curve to the right side of the z-score or the test statistic. Smaller the p-value, the stronger the evidence against the null hypothesis. So in summary, p-value is the probability under the assumption that null hypothesis is true, that the test statistics take on the value as extreme as or more extreme than the value actually observed. The p-value is not the probability that the null hypothesis is true. Choosing a significant level. We have seen that smaller the p-value, stronger the evidence against the null hypothesis. In practice, people often do not choose a significant level. They simply report the p-value and let the reader decide whether the evidence is strong enough to reject the null hypothesis. Sometimes, however, we need to take a firm decision whether to reject the null hypothesis. We then choose a significant level alpha between 0 and 1. before performing the test and reject the null hypothesis if the p-value is less than or equal to alpha. Most commonly used p-value is 0.05. Next most commonly used value is 0.01. So in summary, to make a decision whether to reject the null hypothesis when using the p-value method, choose a significant level alpha between 0 and 1 and compute the p-value. If p-value is less than or equal alpha, we will reject the null hypothesis. If p-value is greater than alpha, we do not reject the null hypothesis. If p-value is less than or equal alpha, we say that the null hypothesis is rejected at that alpha level, or the result is statistically significant at the alpha level. Now let's look at this example. P-value is given. Do you reject the null hypothesis at alpha equal 0.05 level? If you compare P and alpha, P is less than alpha. So we reject the null hypothesis. B. Do you reject the null hypothesis at alpha equal 0.01 level? So if you compare this alpha and P is bigger than alpha, so we do not reject the null hypothesis at this level. This is an example of performing a hypothesis test using the p-value method. The mean height of an adult in US is 69.7 inches with the standard deviation 3 inches. A sociologist believes that taller men may be more likely to be promoted to positions of leadership. So the mean height mu of male business executive may be greater than the mean height of the entire male population. A simple random sample of 100 male business executive has a mean height of 69.9 inches. Assume that the standard deviation of the male executive height is 3 inches. Can we conclude that the male business executives are taller on the average than the general male population at the alpha equal 0.05 level? First we will check for the assumption. We have a simple random sample with sample size that is 100, that is greater than 30, and the population standard deviation is known. So the assumptions are satisfied. Step 1. State the null and alternate hypothesis. Null hypothesis is mu equals 69.7, but alternate hypothesis we need to decide whether it is less than, greater than, or not equal to. So if you look at this, this is taller on the average than the general male population. So taller means it is greater than 69.7. So the alternate hypothesis will be mu greater than 69.7. At this point we assume that the null hypothesis is true. So step 2 is choose a significance level. In the problem itself it is given alpha equal 0.05. And step 3, compute the test statistic. So we can use the formula and substitute the values for each one and calculate. Step 4, compute the p-value. Since the alternate hypothesis is mu greater than 69.7, it is a right tail test. So the p-value will be the area under the curve to the right side of z equal 0.67. You can find the area using the table A2 or using the calculator. If you are using the calculator, press second, then VARS and option 2, that is normal CDF. Then enter 69.9. So starting from here to all the way to the infinity, that's a very large number. Then mu and sigma over square root of n. That is the standard deviation of x bar. And if you are using the table, area to the left of Z. So this we will calculate this area first from the table. Then subtract that from 1 to find the area on the right side. So if you compare these two values, you can see there is a slight difference in the result. So far we completed 4 steps. We state the null and alternate hypothesis and we chose the significant level. We computed the test statistic and computed the p-value. Step 5 is interpret the p-value. We reject the null hypothesis if p-value is less than or equal to the significant level alpha. Here p-value is greater than alpha, so we do not reject the null hypothesis at alpha equal 0.05 level. Step 6, state a conclusion. So we can conclude that there is not enough evidence to conclude that the male executive have a greater height than the adult males in general. The mean height of males executive may be the same as the mean height of the adult male in general. So this is an example of hypothesis test using p-value method, but it's a one-tail test. Now let's look at how to perform a two-tail test. Hypothesis test for a population mean sigma known using p-value method and two-tail hypothesis test. At a large company, the attitudes of workers are regularly measured with a standardized test. The scores on the test range from 0 to 100, with the higher score indicating greater satisfaction with their job. The mean score over all of the company's employees was 74 with a standard deviation 8. Some time ago, the company adopted a policy of telecommuting. Under this policy, workers could spend 1 day per week working from home. After the policy had been in place for some time, a random sample of 80 workers was given the test to see whether their mean level of satisfaction had changed since the policy was put into effect. The sample mean was 76. Assume that the standard deviation is still 8. Can we conclude that the mean level of satisfaction is different since the policy changed at alpha equal 0.05 level? This question says mean level of satisfaction is different since the policy changed. It's not asking whether it is less than or greater than, it's just asking is there any difference. That's why it is mu not equal 74, that is a two-tail test. First we will check for the assumptions. We have a simple random sample and the sample size is large, n is 80 which is greater than 30, and the population standard deviation is known. We know that is 8. So the assumptions are satisfied. So now let's state the null and alternate hypothesis. So the null hypothesis is mu equal 74 and alternate hypothesis mu not equal 74. Since mu is not equal 74, it will be a two-tailed test. Assume that null hypothesis is true. Now choose the significance level. It is given in the problem alpha equal 0.05. Step 3, compute the test statistic. So use this formula and substitute the values for each one and calculate. Step 4, compute the p-value. Since it is a two-tailed test, the p-value will be sum of these two areas. In table A2, look for negative 2.24 and find the intersection of that. That will be the area to the left side of that z-score. So this area is 0.0125. This area also will be the same because they are symmetric. So the p-value is 0.0250. Step 5, we will interpret the p-value by comparing p-value and alpha. So alpha is bigger than p-value, that means p-value is less than alpha. So we reject the null hypothesis at this level. Step 6, state a conclusion. So we conclude that the mean score among the employee has changed since the adoption of the telecommuting. Hypothesis testing on the TI 84 plus calculator. The p-values computed using technology may differ slightly from those computed with the tables due to rounding. The differences are never large enough to matter. So the procedure is first press stat, then highlight test, then select the option Z test, then select stat. If you press Z test, this is the screen you will get. Then highlight stat, then enter all these values. Then choose whether it is a two-tail test, left tail or right tail. Then highlight calculate and press enter. Press stat. Select test. Option 1 Z test. Press enter. Input is not data. So select stats. Mu 0 is 74. And sigma is 8. Oh, we are not using L1. So make sure by selecting stats, highlight that and press enter. Otherwise it won't select. Okay. So mu 0 is 74, sigma is 8 and mean is 76 and n is 80. Then you have three options, mu not equal mu 0, less than mu 0 or greater than mu 0. So in this example, mu is not equal mu 0. So make sure you highlight that and press enter. Then use the arrow key, calculate. Objective 3. Describe the relationship between hypothesis testing and confidence interval. In the previous example, we rejected the null hypothesis mu equals 74 at alpha equals 0.5 level. By rejecting the null hypothesis, we are saying that 74 is not a plausible value for mu. Another way to express the information about mu is through the confidence interval. If we construct a 95% confidence interval for mu about the attitude of workers, we found that mu is between these two values. We note that this interval does not contain the null hypothesis value of 74 because this is starting at 74.247, right? The confidence interval for mu contains all the plausible values of mu. So this interval contains all the possible, all reasonable values for mu. Because 74 is not in the confidence interval, 74 is not a plausible value for mu. In summary, a confidence interval contains all the values that are plausible at a particular level. A hypothesis test tells us precisely how plausible a particular value is. Objective 4. Describe the relationship between alpha and the probability of error. You already know that type 1 error occurs if we reject the null hypothesis when it is true, and type 2 error occurs if we do not reject the null hypothesis when it is false. We would like to make the probabilities of these errors small. The probability of type 1 error is equal to the significant level, which is denoted by alpha. In other words, if we perform the test at the significance level of alpha equal 0.05, the probability of making the type 1 error is 0.05. Because alpha is probability of type 1 error, why don't we always choose very small value for alpha? The reason is that the smaller the value we choose for alpha, larger the value of the probability of making the type 2 error. So in summary, when a test is performed with significance level alpha, the probability of type 1 error is alpha. If we choose a smaller value for a significant level alpha, the smaller probability of a type 1 error, but larger probability of a type 2 error becomes. In general, making type 1 error is more serious than making a type 2 error. When type 1 error is much more serious, a smaller value of alpha is appropriate. When type 1 error is slightly serious, a larger value of alpha can be justified. Objective 5. Report the p-value or the test statistic. Sometimes people will report only the test result without giving the p-value. It is much better to report the p-value along with the decision whether to reject. So there are two reasons for this. There is a big difference between the p-value that is just barely small enough to reject, or one that is extremely small. For example, at alpha equals 0.05 significance level, there is a huge difference between the p-value 0.049 and the p-value of 0.0001. Not everyone may agree with your choice of significance level alpha. By reporting the p-value, we let the people decide for themselves at what level to reject the null hypothesis. When using the critical value method, you should report the value of the test statistic rather than simply stating whether the test statistic was in the rejection region. This tells the reader whether the value of the test statistic was just barely inside the critical region or well inside. Also, it provides the reader an opportunity to choose the different critical value and determine whether the null hypothesis can be rejected at a different level. In summary, when presenting the results of a hypothesis test, state the p-value or the value of the test statistic. Don't just state whether or not the null hypothesis was rejected. Objective 6. Distinguish between statistical significance and practical significance. When a result has a small p-value, we say that it is statistically significant. It is therefore tempting to think that statistically significant result must be always be important. Sometimes statistically significant results do not have any practical importance or practical significance. For example, a new study program may raise student scores by 2 points on a 100-point scale. This improvement may have a statistical significance, but is the improvement important enough to offset the cost of training teachers and the time investment on behalf of the students? In summary, when a result is statistically significant, we can only conclude that the true value of the parameter is different from the value specified by the null hypothesis. We cannot conclude that the difference is large enough to be important. So in this section you learn the assumptions for performing the hypothesis test about mu when sigma is known. The assumptions are: we have a simple random sample and the sample size is large, that is n greater than 30, or the population is approximately normal. Then we learn how to perform the hypothesis test about mu when sigma is known with the critical value method and with the p-value method. And while doing the p-value method, we learn how to find and interpret the p-value and how to describe the relationship between the hypothesis test and the confidence intervals, and how to describe the relationship between alpha and the probability error, and how to distinguish between the statistical significance and practical significance, and why it is better to report p-value or the test statistic value along with the decision of a hypothesis test. In the next section, you will learn the hypothesis test for a population mean, standard deviation unknown.